And welcome back to Zombie SquadCAST here on the YouTube Dead on Pictures. And with me today is Aaron Marcus. He's an actor, professional actor, acting coach, modeling coach, etc. I'm familiar with Aaron through a website that I used to use daily called Dragona Connects for a lot of local hiring, casting, and even crew work throughout the DMV, even with I would say the northeastern region, Philly, Delaware, New Jersey, New York as well. And I found Aaron Marcus's sites and socials on dragonaconnects.com and watched a number of his videos on his YouTube channel about booking auditions, step by step, a lot of little tidbits on how to book auditions, a lot of acting advice, a lot of modeling advice. And for me personally, we'll get into more about my acting style and what it is I look for as far as acting gigs. But what I found a lot of Aaron's tutorials and guides extremely helpful in my regards is just booking the audition. First, you have to book the audition before you can, even get the job. That's like the step one to getting the job. So without further ado, Aaron, if you don't mind introducing yourself, telling us what you do and what you've been up to.
Sure. So, and thanks, Greg. So I've been very fortunate. I've been a full-time actor for a little over 33 years, booked over 1,250 jobs, and I still live in Baltimore. That's my home base. I do have to travel a pretty good amount just because I couldn't survive just trying to work locally. But I do everything I can get my hands on, whether it's TV series, feature films, independent films, training films, voiceover work, TV spots, commercial print. And then on the side, something I really love doing, as you mentioned, I do private online mentoring, which is a lot of fun for me. I've done over 800 in-person and online workshops. So I traveled the globe for that, wrote a book, How to Become a Successful Actor and Model. And so that's really all that I've been doing for a really long time.
Yeah, I saw in your email, you just have a whole slew of social links, just about every social platform there is, you've got it. Awesome. So first and foremost, how are you professionally? How would you say you've been impacted for maybe the past month and a half with this, with the whole quarantine, stay in place, negatively, positively? I'd say let's start professionally. How would you say you've been impacted?
Yeah, well, so professionally. So I had a 10-day tour set up to be giving workshops throughout South Africa.
Wow, okay.
In mid-March. And even though people were telling me, oh, there's nothing happening in South Africa, it'll be fine, just come and let's do this. We've been working on this for a long time. I decided to cancel. And
you
so
you took the step to cancel.
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know it was funny at first, they weren't thrilled about that.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it's okay. You can be angry. I understand. But I felt that my health and my life and potentially bringing something back to my family in case something happened was worth a lot more to me than, financial thing and all that. So, and virtually everything acting and modeling wise has shut down.
Yeah.
So, it's had a bit of an impact. It's funny. I've had a couple of auditions. I mean, they're home auditions for projects that hopefully will be coming back. I'm on. They call it the short list for a new TV show in New York, which essentially, look, I'm still far away from it. I mean, short list. There are tons of people who audition, and they narrowed it down to a couple people. So. Who knows? But so in that sense, it's been tough. On the positive side, I've been doing more online mentoring, which is good because people understand, look, you're at home. There's not a whole lot going on in the industry. So why not get prepared and be better than you were before, so that when things do start happening, which, you know, I'm assuming at some point things will, you'll be in better shape and further ahead than where you were. So that's been fun. I've even done some online workshops, which has been really enjoyable. I still do, and I didn't mention, so I do monthly webinars, kind of similar to what, you know, you're doing. And so I did have an opportunity to interview a couple of people during this time period, and then it gets edited and uploaded to my website and all that kind of stuff. So I've been really, really busy. I've also created, as you were mentioning too, on my YouTube channel, I do have, actually I'm up to like 215 acting and modeling quick tip videos. So I've been shooting more of those during this time period, and you know, I'm going to roll them out like I normally do, you know, typically once a week, something like that. So I mean, I've been really busy.
Awesome.
Been cleaning my house a lot more, been
Oh,
exercising
yeah.
more, which is good.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, I'm just like, I just feel very fortunate that right now I'm feeling good. My family's okay. My kids are out of the house. So, you know, it's sad I can't see them, can't hang out with them, but they're doing okay. And so, you know, look, I feel very fortunate that I'm doing all right. So, look, it's a tough time period for everybody, and kind of like with everything, sometimes you read the paper and you think, what in the world is wrong with people? I mean, during this time period, trying to take advantage of people. And then you see just amazing things that people are doing to help each other. So
Of course.
it's a pretty eye-opening time period too.
Yeah, you raise a good point, and I've stressed this a lot before, is that to stay busy and to stay productive in this time, because, you know, there are some doomsayers. When is this going to end? You know, this is never going to end. Me and the wife, we just brought our first child home March 4th or 5th.
Wow.
And so,
Wow, congratulations.
thank you. And, you know, she's very concerned about, you know, we're getting gypped, you know, the grandparents should be coming over, you know, one day a week or twice a week to take maybe 6 hours away from us so we can go on walks, or we can go to dinner, we can go see a movie. And we can't have that yet. But I think it's important for us, for me and her, to be in this kid's face, reading books, you know, watching cartoons, playing with toys, doing a lot of STEAM, I think they call it now. It used to be called STEM, and now it's called STEAM, and really kind of, you know, having this kid get to know us professionally, and that's personally, and I want to ask you about how this is impacting you personally, but professionally, you know, people need to remember that this is going to end. And this is a great time to write that book, to edit that passion project, to do a podcast, or do a lot of these videos that you're doing, do a lot of these instructional videos on the YouTube channel, to build the brand, so that when the floodgates open, when the doors are allowed open, when the gates open, we can take that product and then, you know, expand on it more, instead of just sitting on the couch watching TV. Like, I'm doing a lot of binge watching, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but and a lot of and a little bit of reading. I wish I could read as well as I used to, but it's
you know, it's interesting. You brought up a really good point. So it's interesting. So 30 minutes ago, got an email from a New York agent, and she said, "I've got an audition for you." And so this was the second audition that I got from her, probably in the past week. One was for an independent, ultra low budget film being shot in Pittsburgh. And for that one, I decided not to accept it. I just thought, I just don't want to, I don't want to travel. Well, first of all, I'm not traveling anywhere right now. I mean, they were talking about shooting sometime in the summer, but I just thought, you know what, I just don't want to travel that far for an ultra low budget project. So honestly, it felt good. I've never turned things down in my life. Never.
wow.
And
Yeah.
I just thought, I've got a lot going on right now. I just don't want to do it. So anyhow, so I turned that one down. And then but this goes to exactly what you were talking about. She just sent me another audition, and it's a huge casting company up in New York, and I'm reading it and I'm confused. I didn't really quite get it. I had some ideas, but so I had to write her back, and I said, "Is this an audition for a project, or is this kind of like an open call where they just want to see actors put themselves on tape for an audition, and then they just want to see who you are, so that when things start rolling again, they're more familiar with your work and then potentially
Exactly.
bring you in?" And as it turns out, that's what it was. I kind of thought that's what it was, because I was, they said, pick and choose the role that's best for you. And there must have been 18, 19 different roles for guys in my age category. And I'm thinking, I don't, so that's what it is. And I thought, you know what, that's interesting. So during this time period, I've got to do this by Friday. I'm going to work on this piece. Honestly, there's a part of me that thinks, I really don't want to work on all this. It's not a project, it's not something I could get booked for. And then the other part of my brain says, what are you, crazy? These are big casting directors. You're going to get an opportunity to be seen by these people. How could you not jump at this opportunity? So of course I am. So like you were saying, this is a time period where you want to get better at what you're doing. So you're more prepared when things do get started again. And of course, things are going to start again. It's just a matter of when.
Absolutely. And the caveat off of that, we've seen a lot of, especially these commercials, because I have Hulu and Netflix. Unfortunately, Hulu has a lot of commercials on it. But I've seen a lot of these new PSAs and a lot of these new commercials where people are shooting on their phones or on a small little tripoded camera from their kitchens. A lot of these famous actors, a lot of famous public figures. And even I saw a Kaiser Permanente PSA about the coronavirus, coronavirus.com or gov or org or something like that. And they're putting out a lot of these commercials, PSAs, whatever you want to call them, that are self-submitted by professionals from their home or from their office. And they're not going to sets. And I think what that is expanding on is, again, what you're doing, what you're doing with your socials and your media and your channels, what I'm doing with my channels, and what a lot of other people are doing is they're finding ways to do it from their home. They're experimenting with their home studios. They're experimenting with their maybe some green screen stuff or some drapery. Like I have like crazy branding right here behind me of different projects that I've worked on in the past. And I just hung it up, and this is kind of like my backdrop. And there's a lot of people finding different ways of doing these different projects. And I'm lucky enough to where I worked on 3 different ultra low budget projects, because I also do crew. I also do a lot of producing, directing, writing, as well as acting. I actually got into acting much later, but I shot a bunch of stuff. But since I was full-time out there gigging it, maybe shooting a bunch of conferences or second ADing on an indie thing, or acting and this, acting and that, and getting that steady paycheck. Now that I'm quarantined to the house, I'm banging out this passion project, which I think will be a phenomenal thing. Maybe it's a web series. Maybe it'll be this extraordinary little short film that could get turned into a feature in a year and a half. Because like we said, this is not going to be a permanent, this is not going to be society permanently,
Yeah.
Once these floodgates open, it's like, what have you done in the last year? And if you're building something kind of like on a quarantine hack, that could get turned into what, your standard, your traditional narrative film or narrative series or narrative web series or what have you.
And it's really funny. There were 2 things that just came to mind as you were talking. One is the last person I interviewed for it's my April video, is a woman who writes and has sold her script. And I thought, man, that's a great video to put together. How to write and get your script sold. Mm-hmm. And so during this time period, if you've got an idea, Absolutely, like you were saying. And here's the other thing too, that I just thought of as you were talking. There's a company actually in Baltimore. It's a huge company, and they've hired me, gosh, probably about 11, 12 times to help them with casting. They do a lot of films, just selling their products. And so I've had to find tons of actors, for this. And the latest one, which was just a couple of weeks ago, um, because nobody is going out and shooting right now, they said, look, here's the project. This is the age category. This is what we're looking for. And the actor has to be able to shoot the video in their home. It has to be high enough quality that we can use it. So I
Wow.
sent out a mailing. I do have a bunch of people on my website or my email list. And by the way, if there's anybody who's watching, if you want to be on my email list, just in case there are future castings, or just to get my information, you can just go to howtoactandmodel.com. It's all spelled out. And you'll be on my list. So if I ever, if I'm hired to cast other people, I'll have your name and email address. But the interesting thing is there were a number of people fit the category perfectly, had a lot of experience, but they didn't have the knowledge or any kind of equipment to shoot a decent quality video at home. And
Yeah.
so I couldn't consider them.
Yeah.
So, during this time period, look, in today's world, you have to know how to shoot things from home. Look, you don't have to have $100,000,
And
camera.
this was pre-quarantine. This was pre-COVID. I and not to cut you off, I definitely
Yeah,
want to.
that's okay.
But just a caveat off of that, I graduated from Towson University with a bachelor's in film and TV production, and
Hey, I almost did.
you almost did.
I spent 2 years
Awesome.
there.
Awesome. And that was '04. So I'd say in '05 is when I started, working in production. 2010 is when I broke out full-time freelance. Then I joined the DC National Guard, just as kind of like, a secondary or tertiary thing to do in life. I joined the DC Army National Guard. I deployed for 9 months, and someone said, when you get back, I have some acting gigs for you. I seen you in uniform, you're familiar on set, and it was like, boom. I started acting, and I pretty much used the military, the Army and the National Guard as my acting school and I'm an MP in the National Guard and the Army. So it was law enforcement, military roles. I've played a detective in those crime shows on ID maybe 80 times, a different, maybe 1 or 2 episodes per series on those ID crime shows as a detective, uniformed cop. Sometimes, very rarely, I get lucky, I'll play a stepfather or something different just to branch out. But really, to be honest with you, I'd rather be typecasted. I'd rather play a detective nonstop, full-time in something. I'd love to be the next Ice-T or Belzner on an SVU type thing. That would be my dream job, is play the same cop for 80 years. I don't care. But now I forgot. Oh, but like you were saying, I'm kind of lucky that I already know production. I know how to set up a white screen with 3-point lighting, or I know how to set up a green screen with 3-point lighting and an extra light to properly light the green screen, and to do this, that, and the other thing, to where I could do what people are asking for now. Shoot something with a high quality audio, high quality video from home, because I've done it with these 2 passion projects that I shot months ago, way before we even knew what coronavirus was. And now that's what I'm cutting here. So I'm kind of lucky, and maybe you can agree or disagree with me, but a lot of the times I'm acting or crewing on a set, and parents will come up to me or actors just starting off. So what is some advice? How do you think I should, learn this, learn that? And I'm like, go to your acting classes. There's a lot of mentors on YouTube, and you just happen to be one of them. But what I tell a lot of actors is, if you got nothing going on, start applying to like PA gigs. Be a PA on set. If you've got nothing on your schedule, you're not making any money, apply to PA gigs, and you'll learn the set. One day you might be running back and forth, getting coffee, doing like the kind of crap that nobody wants to do on set. But there's another day you might be holding up a boom because you're a PA and that sound guy needs you to hold up a boom and you're going to learn how a set works. You're going to see what a director needs of actors. And I think that's where I'm blessed because, you know, I'm a trained director. I'm an experienced director, producer, videographer, but also then started delving into acting. So when I delved into acting, I already knew what directors wanted and what crew expected. Get your butt onto the set when they're ready to shoot. Get the heck out. When go to holding, just go to holding and sit there. Don't bug people when are we going to wrap? And maybe you could, you know, delve into that.
Yeah, actually, and you have some great points. There's a guy, most people probably wouldn't know his name. His name's Clark Johnson. Clark Johnson he's still around. Clark Johnson worked on the show in Baltimore many, 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 many years ago. It was an NBC show called Homicide: Life on the Street.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with it.
It was David Simon's book that got turned into this television series, and it was produced by Barry Levinson and Tom Fontana. Clark Johnson was one of the detectives. Mm-hmm. He was just, I tell you, I did stand-in work on that show for about a year and a half. Then a little bit later, I actually booked a role on it. I mean, it was just a day player role, but I got an opportunity to be on the set every day, 12, 13, 14, 15 hours for a year and a half. So when you're talking about being a PA, absolutely get onto a set. And being a stand-in is another option. And for people who aren't that familiar with it, you really don't have to have any acting skills. Look, it's helpful, but you don't have to. Basically, you've got to be the exact height of well, let me back up for a second. They're going to hire a stand-in so that when they're getting the lights ready, they're getting the camera angles ready, if there's any movement with the camera, they will have the stand-in do the exact same movements or just sitting in a chair as the principal actor. So that way the principal actor can be doing whatever he or she needs to do before they're shooting the scene. Once they're ready, the second team leaves. Those are the stand-ins. First teams come in. So look, sometimes stand-ins do look just like the principal actors. Most of the time they don't. You don't have to, but you do have to wear the same size wardrobe. You have to be the same height, same facial features, skin tones, so that when they're balancing the lights, everything works out perfectly. Mm-hmm. That is a great opportunity to learn because you will be up close. Look, you can do that as an extra sometimes, but you never know. As an extra, you could be one of 10,000 people in a football stadium, and you're not going to really see that much. When you're a stand-in, you are right there watching everything, learning. If you do it properly, you're going to learn all the different jobs that are on a set. So getting back to Clark Johnson. Clark Johnson, so here's a guy who had tremendous success. He did some other television shows. Then he actually got into directing. And he's been direct. I see his name pop up on Homeland. I've seen his name pop up for like a bunch of different shows. He started off, he was born in Philadelphia. Actually, he tried out, I think, for the Giants or the Eagles. Actually, I just lost you here for a second.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So I'm doing a screen share here, and I'm showing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have warned you there. I'm sorry about that. So
that's okay. No, that's cool. Anyhow, he wound up moving to Toronto, and he really got started in the industry working special effects on movie sets in Canada. Mm-hmm. That's how he got onto the set. Yeah, I mean, his screen credits are just unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And he wound up going to Los Angeles. He was sleeping on a friend's couch.
Yeah, it happened.
And he happened to get this audition for Homicide. And that's what started his career. So as you were saying, man, get onto a set. And you know what's interesting too, you might find, you're thinking, I want to be an actor, I want to be an actor, I want to be an actor. Get onto a set and really see what's going on. And who knows, you might find, acting seems fun, but I don't know. I like doing lights. I like doing sound. Maybe you're not going to see this on the set, but maybe editing is something that really interests you. Maybe doing locations and finding areas where to shoot. Who knows? But the point is, you've got to be proactive with whatever you're doing, whether it's acting or modeling or working on. It doesn't make any difference. For people who have this mentality of, hey, people tell me I'm really a really good-looking guy, and people tell me I'm really talented. I make them laugh. I should be doing comedies, and I'm sure I'll be discovered. That's just not reality. There are reality shows where people seemingly get discovered overnight, and those things do happen, but typically that doesn't last very long, and you might be known for a couple of weeks, then the show's over and your career is gone. I mean, there are a handful of people, especially singers that you might, know about, who have really had a tremendous career after doing some reality, voice shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But the majority of those people, nothing really happens to them. And so you can't just sit around and wait. Look, I've worked with lots of different agents in different markets, and still I market myself. And I work hard at making sure that people know I'm still around. And I always, I used to always hear this adage of, this person was lucky. It's, it's who you know in the industry. I have a slightly different take on that. It's not who you know in the industry. It's who knows you in the industry.
Exactly.
And so that way, I think it's so important to always be on people's minds. And it's easy, especially if you've been doing this for a while. It's easy to get lazy. It's easy to think, oh, I've been with this agency for 15 years or 20 years. Of course, they all know. Well, there might be a couple new agents who've come to the agency and they have no idea who you are. Yeah, right. And I remember, and this was a little while ago, I called up an agency and I said, oh, hi, I'm Aaron Marcus. I went, yeah, what is this in reference to? I don't want to, what is this? I've been with your agency for 25 years. What do you mean? But it hit me and I thought, you know what? I shouldn't be angry at this person. I should be angry at myself. I didn't work hard enough to make sure that these people knew who I was.
Stay in touch and keep reaching out. And even,
absolutely.
And even if it, and I take it, maybe you're repped by more than one agent.
I am.
But if agent one got you Homicide: Life on the Beat, tell agent two about it.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I'm not going to say, hey, this other agency got me this gig, but no, of course.
But not in that sense. Not in that sense, but say,
right.
Hey, just to keep you informed, I've been staying busy with this. You guys got anything for me? Hey, Aaron, yeah, you got to stay in touch and you got to remind them who you are.
And you know what? And here's the funny thing. In some ways, it doesn't even really matter what you say. You could say horrible things to somebody, but what's important is that you jar their memory. And here's just a little tip that I'd like to share with everybody. If you are sending an email to somebody, assuming they know you, because I can tell you nobody's going to. A lot of times people just don't open up unsolicited emails today. But make sure that your headshot and your contact information is in the signature in your email, because they might not remember your name, but maybe they'll remember your face. So make sure that's there. And something else that I also highly recommend, I know people used to always send out postcards to people. Everybody used to do that. I haven't done that kind of stuff for years. Sometimes though, I will send out a letter through the mail. And because that way I know they're going to get it.
A hard letter.
I know they're going to open it up.
A hard letter.
A hard letter.
Snail
letter.
Letter.
I'll type something out because my handwriting is poor.
Yep.
And in the letter, I make sure that my headshot is on the top I'll have, with my name, headshot, once again, contact information. And just speaking of contact information, I know I'm kind of jumping, but
No,
just
it's
trying
fine.
to throw out a lot of
Perfect.
helpful information here. So sometimes when I'm casting for projects, I make it really clear. Uh, this is how I need you to label your video, because you're going to be sending me your video. Have your first name, underscore last name, underscore phone number, just, I can get in touch with you, or email address, and send it to me through, might be WeTransfer.com. I can't tell you how many times people will send me videos or even headshots that are labeled 2019 headshot. I don't know who this person is.
Exactly.
It's like, man, you've got to, besides the fact you always want to follow instructions from, casting folks, but you've got to let people know who you are, because if you're sending out an audition and your name is not attached to it, or they don't know how to get in touch with you, they're going to just delete it. Now, look, as an actor, I'm much more sensitive to other actors, and I will do everything I can to follow up and see if I can match the video with somebody's headshot, and then email them and say, hey, did you see? Most casting directors, look, they just don't have the time or perhaps the interest to do that. So anyhow, in the hard copy letter, make sure your contact information is in there. So not only will they see your name, they'll see your face, and they easily know how to get in touch with you. And normally I wouldn't say, hey, if something comes up, let me know. That's pretty much implied. But what I will do is, hey, just, booked a feature film that was written and directed by, actually, what's his name? Because it was supposed to come out. It's called Irresistible. Jon Stewart, starring Steve Carell. So I might say, hey, just, book this job, written and directed by Jon Stewart, starring Steve Carell. Hope we get a chance to work together in, the near future. I'm not pushing, saying, hey, I just hope we can work together. And so it's just a way of planting and continuing to let them know I'm successful. I am booking jobs, which in turn implies I can make you money. And that's really what it's all about with agents. Look, you could be the most talented person in the world. You could have the best look in the world. You could be the nicest person in the world. But if you're never getting auditions, forget about the jobs, because those are, and we can talk about that later. But if you're not even getting auditions for the jobs, then at some point the agent is probably going to drop you, because they're doing, this is a business that they're running, and the way that they make money is by people getting a chance to audition and hopefully booking the job. So anyhow, I just think it's really, really important to stay in touch with these people. And even like right now, of course, there's nothing shooting. But you know what? You could send an email to your agent or casting director, or somebody from an ad agency or producer, director, who, hey, just wanted to check in, see how you're doing. I hope everything's okay. Give a couple pieces of information about you. And once again, it's just a way of staying in touch with them. That's it.
Yeah. And so coming back to where we are now, stuck in the house, working from home, figuring out the remote thing, the self-submit, even they're asking actors to even sort of semi-produce their scenes from their home studio. Now is the time to even study up on that. Study up on a second craft. How do I produce? There's a million videos on YouTube, million videos to Google or to look up on YouTube. How to blankety blank. How to produce a video from home. How to produce a video from your iPhone. How to do this. How to do that. And then so this is downtime central. This is downtime side hustle, study, supplementary income central right now. And independent stuff, uber independent stuff, YouTube web series, podcasts. But like you said, get yourself out there, produce your own thing, and make yourself more than just an actor, make yourself more of maybe a public figure, a speaker, a motivational speaker, motivational blogger, most motivational social figure, to what, because what people don't realize, in the last 5 years that I've seen a lot of famous YouTubers, a lot of these online YouTubers that were famous on YouTube, they were getting booked in a lot of independent stuff on YouTube, Netflix originals, Hulu originals, King Batch. Oh, geez, what's his name? John Paul, I think is John Paul, something or other. I'm forgetting names now. There's so many of them. The guys from Buff Dudes, these workout guys that are kind of funny on YouTube, are getting put into other people's productions on YouTube Red or Netflix or Prime or Hulu. The guys from Workaholics, there was a show on Comedy Central called Workaholics. These three guys were comedy writers and YouTubers. And I think even earlier, before YouTube, if you remember Break.com or eBomb.
No, actually I don't.
So there was Break.com, there was eBombs.com, and then pretty much YouTube phased it out, and those guys just put all their stuff from Break and eBombs onto YouTube. But these guys were, making their funny little skits. Same with Donald Glover. Got noticed off of YouTube. He was making some ridiculously funny stuff, and then it got, I guess, went on funnyordie.com, which then got picked up into, he got casted into Community, then he made Atlanta on FX, and it just kind of progressed from there. And now he's in Spider-Man, he's in Solo, a Star Wars movie, things of that nature. And
wait, is he the guy who graduated from Towson?
Donald Glover?
Or am I thinking of, there's another Glover who graduated from Towson, who had tremendous success in the industry?
Well, I know that the guy who produced The Haunting of Hill House is a Towson grad. I'm looking at Donald Glover's bio right now, and I don't see anything about Towson.
Because I remember he at one point he used to do or whoever I'm thinking of, I want to say Glover. He used to come to Towson periodically, because I remember when I was there, I went to hear him speak. And then there was the guy, and once again, this is before your time, I want to say David Schultz. There was a guy, Schultz, he was also graduated from Towson, who was in that huge television show, and I'm not going to remember the name of it. I'm going back so many years. There's a guy named Jeff Papard or something, or oh boy, I'm kind of grasping for straws here. But yeah, there have been, a couple people from that department who've gone on to do some pretty amazing things.
So let me see. Are you thinking of Mark Duplass?
Nope.
No? Okay.
No.
All right.
Maybe it'll come to me later.
I know there's a couple people. I know Amy Schumer's a Towson grad.
Right.
She kind of took off. But
this was way, 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 way before her. I mean, I'm talking about, because the guy that I'm thinking of, and I want to say his last name is Glover. I could be wrong. He might have been there late 60s, way before me,
okay.
Early 70s, something like that.
No idea.
Yeah.
I think Amy Schumer was there when I was there. So that's all that my friends and all my fellow grads talk about. Amy Schumer. So I guess, with her success, I'm not sure if Julie Louis-Dreyfus went to Towson, or she's just kind of from the area, and that was her story on Seinfeld.
Oh no, I don't think she went to Towson.
She
did grow up, I want to say, like in, at least for part of her life, like the Chevy Chase area.
Yeah. Okay.
Something like that.
Because I think, I think they kind of made that the story for her character on Seinfeld, that she went to Towson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So things are always getting.
Well, and Larry David went to University of Maryland College.
That I do know. Yeah.
So maybe that he's from New York, but I guess that was who's known in the area. Yeah, I was in the music department at Towson. So when
Okay.
I used to walk to my car, I used to walk through the uh, theater department, and I was always so envious. People seemed happy. People seemed to be doing fun things together. And here I was sitting in a practice room, for 6 hours a day, just isolated. And I just thought, boy, that seems like a lot of fun. So I always have fond memories of the theater department at Towson, even though I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's funny you mentioned Larry David. So there was a gig. This was years ago, maybe I want to say 10 years ago. Yeah, maybe 8 years ago. I'm not sure. But there was this gentleman who I responded to this crew gig. He was looking for a fellow writer producer to jump on this indie project. He wanted to shoot a pilot, and to the best of my ability, to the best of my knowledge, I believe it was Kenny Kramer who was the inspiration for Cosmo Kramer.
Yeah.
And I didn't ask him like up front, are you the guy that he based Kramer off of? But he just said that. He claimed to have went to University of Maryland with Larry, and was in the Army Reserve with Larry. And I said, okay, so I'm taking all
Larry
these.
David was in the Army Reserve?
Larry David, I think, did one contract in the Army Reserve. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I missed that one.
and that's an even funnier story, because I never knew that throughout all of Seinfeld. I never even really knew of Larry David when I was a kid watching Seinfeld. I fell into Larry David with Curb Your Enthusiasm, obviously. And there was an episode where, they're trying to start up this restaurant in Curb Your Enthusiasm. They're trying to start up that restaurant. And he wants the uniforms to kind of be like chow hall uniforms. And, the guy that plays Jeff Green in the show, he plays his manager. He says, what do you know about chow hall? And he goes, I was in the Army. He goes, when? He goes, it was a long time ago. Don't worry about it. I don't care. And apparently he had like a very quick stint. And from what I know, his service in the Army Reserve was, it was fine. It was honorable. He got out. Everything was A-okay. But the last person you would imagine would have, but a lot of people don't realize that Ice-T did 4 years as well, or 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, he got out as a specialist and then went back to, Compton and did his whole thing in Compton, LA or whatever. Wow. A lot of people did, a quick contract, I think, just to maybe see what other options are out there for them. But this was way before Seinfeld when he did this Larry did this Army Reserve thing. So there was this whole thing. And I'm looking at this guy and I think, is this guy the real Kramer? And, and then a couple of years ago, I tried to look up this guy and find old emails, and I couldn't find these old emails because, things get deleted anyway. Funny little pointless side note there, but personally, I think we've delved a little bit about how you've been personally impacted, but if you want to maybe recap and say, if you don't mind, you're married, you said the kids are out of the house, how is the family, how is the personal life impacted with this whole shut-in thing now?
Yeah, it's hard. I've got elderly parents, and they only live about, 5-6 minutes from me, or a 10-minute run or something like that. And
that's good.
So I used to go over there all the time, and I stopped going into their apartment. I just think it's too dangerous. I feel fine, but I have no idea if I'm asymptomatic. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So sometimes I'll meet them outside, or they're on their balcony, and I'm kind of looking up, talking to them a little bit. But I used to go in there and try to fix things, and the telephones are always breaking, and so. It's hard, and not being able to see my son and daughter-in-law and their dogs, who I love as well. It's hard. My daughter, she lives in DC, and she works in a hospital in DC, and that makes me nervous. But that's that's her job, and she's helping people, and so that's a great thing. But yeah, but it's just it's weird, just not being able to interact with people. It was interesting. I did a workshop in New Jersey. There was an agency that I work with, and she wanted me to work with her talent, and so brought me up to Jersey, and this was the very beginning of March. And so there was like some talk of things going on. It wasn't bad at all at this point, but and I'm normally I'm not a worrier, and so but even for this, I decided I'm not shaking people's hands. I'm not hugging people, which is something I normally do. Yeah. And it felt weird to me. I didn't know if I was being, kind of being portrayed as like, one of these crazy people and stuff. And I just said, like, I just want to, let me just put it out there. I can't do this right now. Can't shake, can't hug, just can't do it. And I apologize, because that's just not my normal nature, but I just don't want to take a chance right now. And then like a week later, boom, things started to hit. And it's funny because in my workshops, I typically will talk about a bad experience that I once had with a casting director at an audition, where I walked in and casting director said, "Oh, how you doing? And, how are you?" And I, put out my hand to, shake the casting director. I say, "Hey, I'm doing well. How about you?" And the casting director, and this is years ago, the casting director, she just put up her hands like this because she didn't want to touch my hands. Mm-hmm. And my hand is out like this. And I'm thinking, this is really weird. I don't know what I'm going to do with my hand at this point. So I kind of slowly put my hand down. And now I've got to do an audition. And my brain is just flying in a million different directions. And I'm uncomfortable and it feels bad. And so I always would tell people, I said, look, when you go to an audition, don't put your hand out. If they want to extend their hand and shake their hand, great. And otherwise, just go, "Hey, nice to see you."
I always do that. Just like, "How you guys doing?" Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you don't get into that awkward moment. But man, the world has changed. And I don't know that people are ever, going to want to, shake your hand when you walk into a room. If you don't, even if you do know, it doesn't make any difference. So anyhow, so when you're just talking about how it's impacted and changes, it's very different. You go to a grocery store and wearing gloves, plastic gloves, and I've got like a little mask, and it's like it's weird, and just running in and out. I mean, that's the only place I go. It's the only time I'm at, except for if I go out for a run. Aside from that, or if I'm cutting my lawn and doing that kind of, but I just don't go anywhere. So, but here's the crazy thing, and I'm not diminishing anything that's going on. It's not really that different than my normal life. I mean, if I'm not at an audition or I'm not working, I'm at home. So I'm used to being home all day. I'm used to being in front of a screen all day. That part is not really any kind of change for me. Now it's weird. My wife's a teacher. To have her home, that's unusual. And so she's got to do everything online now, which is just a really tough way to try to teach and learn how to do it, and have students who have the capabilities to do this stuff. So it's very different. And like I know, I kind of feel like take in the experience, see what's happening, and then adapt.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You have to learn how to adapt, just like we were talking about before with home auditions. Every audition prior to coronavirus, every audition I did for projects in Atlanta, they were all online auditions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all self-submits.
All at home. Yeah. I think once I traveled to Atlanta for an audition. Now, if I get a call back, then I do have to go down there. So that's just a change in the industry. And like with anything else in life, you have to learn how to adapt in this world. And so
Absolutely.
this is a time where you're going to be doing some major adapting.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, to caveat off of that, you know, as far as procrastination, this is the time to not procrastinate. You have housework, you have side projects, you have hobbies, you have passion projects. You know, this is the time to not procrastinate, because procrastination screwed me out of a big thing that we could be having in life right now. And that is, my mom is very low tech. She's, you know, in her late 60s, and she's very, very low tech. She still has a rotary phone in her kitchen that she uses to answer the phone and make calls. She's like spinning that freaking thing. And so for the longest time, I wanted to put this program on her computer so I could remote in from my computer to help her. The computer's not working. Okay, turn it off, turn it back on again. I'll remote in. I'll see what's wrong. Let me download. Let me install this new program on there. Let me install Zoom. Let me install Google Hangouts, and I'll do this, that, and the other thing for you. Okay, I see what the problem is. Blah 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 blah. Kept procrastinating. Oh, I don't want to go over there. You know, the wife's pregnant. You know, my mom keeps me there. If I go over there and it's supposed to be a 15-minute thing, it's going to turn into an hour and a half thing. And mom, you know, mom, I have this gig. I'll come over tomorrow. I got another gig. I'll come over tomorrow. And I kept procrastinating. Now's the time. And her webcam doesn't work. And I tried to walk her into installing this one program so I could remote in. She couldn't figure it out. So with her, it's Google Hangouts. With everybody else, it's Zoom. So we have to figure out like cross paths of this, that, and the other thing. And now it bit me in the ass.
Yeah.
Procrastination has seriously bit me in the ass right now. And that's why I say procrastination, you know, it can be death. It's going to, and so now is the time, personally and professionally, to knock stuff out. All this stuff around the house, knock it out. Paint that wall, knock out all this stuff, because now you've got the time, because there's nothing really else to do.
Yeah. I mean, look, and like you were saying, you've got two choices. You can, you know, sit on your couch and eat, popcorn and watch Jerry Springer reruns all day, which, that could be enjoyable.
That's the best thing to do, actually. But
or you could try to get some things on. Although I have to tell you, so like during the day, I mean, I'm working really, really, really hard. At night, though, absolutely, I'm watching a lot of TV. So I kind of feel like I want to reward myself for getting some good work done during the day, and that's fun. It's fun for me, so I enjoy doing that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. That'll bring us right into our next point, because we are on a roll. We're kicking butt, but bring us right into our next point. So you say you're watching a lot of TV. What is one film, one series that you binge watched, or maybe even a book or a series of books that's really blown you away? It's really captivated you, kept your mind off the downside and off the fear of the quarantine and what have you.
Yeah, and that's why. Look, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, look, I read the paper in the morning. I want to know what's going on, but I do not watch news. I never really have. I just don't enjoy getting it that way. So when I am watching things, it's not going to be the news in the evening. I've really been watching a lot of great documentaries.
Wow. Okay.
Really enjoying documentaries, a bunch of music documentaries that have just been fascinating for me. Just learning about some, and once again, I know I'm kind of dating myself, but just some musicians that I used to listen to all the time, and learning about their lives, and just being shocked by some of the things from Nina Simone to Joe Cocker, and just the whole music scene in the 70s in LA, which that stuff just really fascinated me. I did, and my wife has no interest in this, but I did do the Tiger King series. I have to say, after a couple of, and I knew I was going to finish it. I was like, I knew I had to finish it, but after like 2 or 3 episodes, I was getting bored. It's like there was nobody that I really enjoyed and found more. People were just
Sure.
getting nastier and nastier and
Yeah.
more bitter and angry. I thought, oh, it's just not doing it. And honestly, I wasn't crazy about how it ended. I don't know, it felt like it didn't really end for me. But I did read that there is going to be another episode coming out next week on Netflix. But I don't. To me, I feel like in some ways I'm kind of being used here. And I don't want to get into the whole series with people, but the guy who took over, this zoo, sounds like he's involved, and I kind of feel like it's just we're being manipulated here just for him to get more airtime and more
Sure.
exposure and more. So I will probably watch it, but.
And I appreciate your take on it. I have not watched it, but just about everybody raves about it. You gotta watch it. It's so addictive. It's so intense. It's so crazy. Da 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 da. And it's unique for one person to tell me there's nothing positive or redeeming for me to watch it for.
Yeah, and it's like, look, I don't need to have an uplifting project to watch. I mean, there are plenty of there are lots of things I look. I love people in jail. I love people in jail. Let me phrase that a little bit differently. I love I love watching things about jail, murder. It fascinates me. I find that really interesting.
Okay.
So it's not that it's not a positive thing. I just feel like there's no change in the character. It's just the same crap,
right?
Week after week after week. And it's like, all right, I got it. Okay, I got it. All right, I got it. And so if there was something new that really jumped out at me, that I would find interesting. One thing that I have started doing, just because, especially at night, before I go to sleep, and I watch it with my wife, just need something to completely take me to another place. And I don't know if you remember the show Cheers. But I used to watch it, but I'm sure I didn't watch every episode. So started from the very beginning. I didn't know there were 11 seasons of that show.
Oh yeah.
11 seasons. And it is such a well-written show and incredible. The acting is just great and the characters are wonderful and it actually makes me laugh. And this is old, this is old stuff. So, yeah, I mean, look, we watch all kinds of some like British detective things, Hinterland and stuff. I think that's on Amazon. Although I do have to watch subtitles for some of those shows. It's like the dialects are so hard.
Like all the Cockney accents and stuff like that.
Yeah, Cockney and sometimes Scottish. And so I mean, the thing that is so amazing in today's time period, I mean, look, yeah, we're kind of shut in. If you are fortunate enough to have access to this stuff, there are so many great things. And I know, maybe it's not the most intelligent thing to be saying here, but there are great things on television. I love watching a lot of these things. And then there's still like the regular, I still like Homeland, although it's only once a week. And then there's some other there are lots of really good shows that I find interesting. And like, even like with Homeland, like sometimes I'm watching it and I'm starting to, sometimes there's just some things that are just, I just don't buy it. Like, and once again, here, we're just having this personal conversation. This is a couple of years ago. And for people who watched Homeland, they'll get it. So is that a show that you watch or have watched?
I think I left off season 2 or 3, so I'm not caught up.
Okay. And this might have been season 3. I can't even remember, because this is when, oh gosh, I just forgot the guy's name. The guy who's on Billions, Damian Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
This is when Damian Lewis, and it's okay to have a spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah. Of course.
So when he gets killed, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, what's her name? Who stars in it?
Claire
Claire
Danes,
Danes.
yeah.
So when he's being executed and Claire Danes starts to climb the fence because she's on the other side of the fence, you know, to try. Come on, really? You're going to start doing this guy? So it's like every once in a while, there's some things that kind of take the reality out for me. Even just like with House of Cards. Look, I had a recurring role in that show. I love that show. But sometime, every once in a while, and especially towards the end, there were just things in it that just seemed a little silly to me. And it just took me away from the reality of it because it was such. I thought that most of the seasons were just unbelievable. It was groundbreaking. Like it was the first. If I'm correct, I think it was the first streaming television show on Netflix, and it was groundbreaking.
House of Cards
This was never done before, and they didn't even have to shoot a pilot. They were given enough money for 2 seasons up front, just based on the players there.
House of Cards was.
Yeah, House of Cards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that, without a doubt, was one of the highlights of my career. I mean, getting a chance to work on 3 episodes, that was something. And you know, it's interesting. A lot of times, I'll hear actors talk about, you know, I auditioned for this project, you know, 4 times or 5 times, or I've auditioned with this casting director on various projects, you know, 5 or 6 times. Apparently, they don't want me because I don't even know why I'm going in there. They keep calling me in, but I never booked the job. Well, for that show, it was the 15th audition over 2 years when I booked it. And what people need to understand is you're not going to get a second chance to audition with a casting director unless they really liked what you did. They don't want to waste their time. So not booking the job is not necessarily any statement about you or your audition or your acting skills. For whatever reason, you were not the perfect person for that role. Plain and simple. And look, maybe you did a horrible audition. Maybe you weren't very good. Of course, there are lots of reasons why you don't book it. But you know, I'm just a perfect example. 15 times they brought me in, and I called back, never booked it until the 15th one. And I think that just goes to prove that there's so many factors that go into booking somebody and not booking somebody that has nothing to do with your acting skills or your audition. You know, there are just too many other things going on that are out of your control.
Yeah. I forget. I think it was from your site. You said something similar to that, where it's just, you might be 1 inch too short.
Oh, of course.
You might.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to give you one other really quick example. So I auditioned for one of those NCIS shows in New York. It was a number of years ago. Went in to read, and I saw the headshot of the person who was guest starring on that episode. And it was a, I don't know, he was like, you know, 17 years old, 18 years old, something like that. And I was supposed to be playing his father. I looked at the headshot, and in a split second, I knew that my bus ride up to New York, throwing it out the window, spending an entire day throwing it out the window. I'm not getting this job because I didn't look anything like the kid. There was no, unless this kid was adopted, which he wasn't in the episode, there's no way I'm going to get cast as his father.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, kind of like with everything in life here, I had 2 choices. I could either be pissed, you know, what was my agent thinking? Why am I doing this? I just wasted all this time and money, and just feel angry. That's one thing that you could do. The other way to view it is, hey, look, I know I'm not going to get the job, but I'm going to get a chance to audition for a really good casting director.
Yep.
I'm hoping they're going to say, hey, like the audition, but he's not getting it because he's just not right for the role. But we'll keep him in mind for other things. You know, and so I think it's just really important to have a good mental understanding of the realities of the industry.
Mhm.
And because it is easy to get burned out, it is easy to feel anger and bitterness. And I mean, you see it in our community
Yeah.
with people, and they are comparing themselves to you, and they don't want to give you any information about the industry because you might be competing with them, and then if they tell you about something, then you might get the job. And look, and once again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do. It's just not a way I like to live my life. And so when people contact me and they, ask me for contact, or they ask me, for information, my thought is, why not, build a community of people who are sharing information with you. And
Yeah.
to me, that just seems like a much nicer way to live your life. So anyhow, I've learned a lot by doing those kinds of things in this industry.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, and I remembered the point. A lot of people have come up to me and said, how are you getting these acting gigs? And I'm like, here's this website, this website, this website, this website. This one's free and it's phenomenal. This one you got to pay for. It's phenomenal. This one you pay for. It's kind of okay. A lot of people suggest it. And I've had other people say, like, what if he takes your gig? And I say, well, so for this particular case, I said, that guy's black. He's not going to take my gig if they're looking for a white guy.
Yeah.
Or, but then again, I remember the point I was trying to make. I auditioned for something and I didn't get it. Oh, do I suck? No. Chances are they rewrote it and they didn't want a white guy anymore. They wanted a black guy, or they didn't want a male. They wanted a female, or they wanted a Latino or a Latina. While we're auditioning, that writer and director is probably making changes while they're auditioning, but they already put that audition notice out, and they're looking for such and such and such and such. But now the writer and director is in their office changing up the whole movie, and so they want this character to be a woman. They're going to go to the audition, the women's auditions for a different role, but they're going to see, like, she didn't read it well for the role she was auditioning for, but I like the way she read it for the role that we just changed to a woman. There's all these different cogs and machines and gears working. And so
Well,
even guys that look like me, I'll tell them, go to this, go to this, go to this, because in that regard, I need that help. So I'm going to give it. I'm not going to be a douchebag about it. I'm not
yeah.
going to, like you're saying, don't cut people off. I submitted to this thing in Baltimore looking for Marines and looking for, I think it was Lebanese aid workers. So I submitted, but without even telling him, I submitted my buddy. My buddy got it. And he didn't even submit to it. He calls me up, dude, I just got this phone call. And I'm like, oh yeah, bro, I submitted you. I forgot to tell you I submitted you. Well, they want me to come in tomorrow. I'm like, well, then go. Well, like, dude, what are you doing? Just go. Oh, are you working on it? They didn't call me back, but I just straight up, because I saw what they were looking for, and the guy my buddy looked exactly like some of these examples they sent.
Yeah, and and even if they do wind up, in another kind of audition, and they do wind up hiring, a white male in your category, they didn't change all that stuff. Fact is, maybe you're too tall, maybe you're too short, maybe you're in too good a shape, you're not in good enough shape. Maybe you remind the director of her ex-husband who she can't stand. Who knows? And when you're talking about, you go in and you do an audition, you don't know what's going to happen. That's exactly what happened to me when I read for a role on Gotham. So went in and I read for the role of, it was I was the leader of a phobia group. All these people had phobias, and I'm the person who's leading the group.
I know the episode you're talking about, so I'll have to go back and try to find it.
And so, I don't know, it was like 2-3 days later, agent called and he said, well, I got some good news and bad news. I said, well, I want to hear the bad news first. I always like bad news first, so I have something to look forward to.
Rip the Band-Aid right off. Yep.
Yeah. And he said, well, bad news is they cut the role out that you auditioned for. it's just not happening. So, okay, so what's the good news? He goes, they liked your audition. They want to offer you a week contract for another role on the show.
See,
And
exactly.
he said, you want to take it? I said, yeah, I want to take it. So you just don't know what happens. You go in there and look, everybody has different philosophy. We're just talking about audition. Everybody has different philosophies with auditioning. Some people, and it's not right or wrong, it's depending on what's right for you. Some people go in and they visualize. You know, they're going to go in there and if it's a film, they're going to see themselves on the red carpet. They're going to see themselves getting the Academy Award. They're going to be seeing themselves making the speech, thanking all these people. If that works for you and that gives you confidence, do it. It doesn't work for me. I tried it once and I found it really embarrassing. I didn't even get a call back. So I have a very different take for auditioning. And mine is, and I'm not, it's not a psychological game. I truly believe I'm not going to book the job. I really believe that because I know there's just so many factors. And I'm not saying I'm horrible. I'm not any good. Nobody's going to want. It's just there are so many factors that go into booking and not booking a job. So my number one goal for every audition that I go on is to have a good time. That's my number one goal. I'm not even thinking about booking because I know I'm not going to get it. And then a second goal is I want to learn from the experience. Sometimes I walk out of an audition and I think, hey, I did everything I wanted to do in there, felt good. I got some direction from the casting director and I felt like I followed it well. Or maybe I didn't, and what happened, what blocked me from doing that? Did I screw up in there? And that's my first and second goal for every audition. And I'm not thinking about booking it because I'm probably not going to book it. And I find that it helps relax me a little bit more. Not to say I don't get nervous for auditions. I do. I mean, nobody would ever know it, but I feel that nervous energy flying through me. But I know that when casting directors, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but they're like sharks. They can smell blood. They can smell desperation a mile away. And if you go in there and think, oh, I really want to get this job. This is great. I got to get a chance to work with this act. They can smell that. And that's not who they want to work with. They want to work with people who are confident, people who have this thought of, hey, if I book the job, great. If I don't, that's great. I'll get something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's so, anyhow, I think those things can be really helpful when you're actually going into an audition.
Exactly. And you hit the nail right on the head. I've put this out on so many other, episodes and previous media and previous things, is that you have to love what you do. You have to have a good time. It's got to be fun to you. You can make $1 billion at something and absolutely hate life. Not getting too political, but, Trump finally got the presidency. He does not look like he's enjoying the presidency. I mean, I don't think any president really, and not just Trump, Obama aged 20 years in 8 years. Trump looks like he's aged 20 years in 8 years. George W. Bush went from having brown hair in 2000 to all white in 2008. Like, you could look at these pictures. I mean, clearly, maybe they like it, but it's such a tough, I doubt that they even enjoy their work after like one term. But you have to, true success comes from doing something that you love. You might only make 50 a year, you might only make 100 a year, but if you love what you do, you go in and I love this process. I might book it, I might not. I just love this freaking process. It's just so fun that if I even do get the gig, then just the process of acting, is it going to be a great show? Am I making, $1 million a year? No, but is it a great show? It's kind of an all right show, but it's such a great, fun process that when you watch that show on Netflix or whatever, it's an okay show, but you just love watching it because, like, I'm in it. I love being in it. I loved working on it, the whole process. There was a casting agency or a casting director. I can't remember what it was called. What they consider themselves. I must have auditioned.
Casting directors.
Maybe casting directors in this area. Yeah.
We're not casting agents because that pisses them off and also pisses off agents. So yeah, they're casting directors.
But I must have auditioned for 15 different things for this one casting director.
Uh-huh.
Never got it. Never got it. But then they sent me to a production company to audition for them. They said, you know, you're actually gonna audition for them at their studio. You're not gonna come to our office for this one. I booked it there. Then and then 2 days later, I got a call from the same casting director. Um, the same production company shooting something totally different. Do you want, and their actor bowed out. Can you be in Baltimore? Well, it was a little further north of Baltimore. Can you be at this place tomorrow at about noon? Yep. Okay. I booked 2 gigs, not even trying, because I went and saw them 15 different times that I
Yep.
didn't get something. These gigs were pretty well paying up front. And then it was a plumbing commercial, and then it was DAP caulk. I'm on
Yeah,
their
sure.
I'm on their website.
Oh, wow.
And so my wife is still getting texts very rarely, well, very rarely now, but she's still getting texts every once in a while. Just saw the commercial again. But for like a good year and a half, she was getting a text once a week. Just saw the commercial again. Just saw the commercial again. Just saw the commercial again. I'm getting texts. Did I just see you in a freaking commercial? And I do crew work, and I do AV work at live events, and I do live streaming. And I got people coming up to me like, did I just see you on this commercial? Yeah. And so it's like those little glory moments where that's what makes, and that's what refuels the love of the work. You know, you have to love it. Because quality of life too goes into it. If you're constantly chasing or trying to tax, I gotta work with this tax specialist to, like, cut around these tax loopholes, or make a decent amount of money, fall into an easier tax bracket, pay your taxes, love life, decent quality of life, decent home. You don't have a 5,000-acre mansion. You got a quaint home. You're on TV. People see you. You love what you do. Your ego is fluffed just enough to where it's a quality of life. It's a perfect unison of all sorts of elements to where it's just a quality of life.
Yeah.
Your work, your professional life, your personal life, family life, your health, because stress can be detrimental. There are people that have, they're multimillionaires that are so out of shape and so unhealthy and die early, as opposed to, artists that just make ends meet, but they're loving life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, and I've been very fortunate when my kids were young. I took them to school every day, unless I had a gig or an early audition somewhere, but pretty much, I was the one who took them to school every day. And most of the time I was there for all their athletic games and stuff, once again, less on, but, normally for me, probably the longest shoot I ever had was a couple of weeks on a project. So a lot of times for me, it's, it's a day, 2, 3 days, something like that. So I was around, for them. And like, once again, I feel really lucky to have been in that position to do what I love doing and also have a lifestyle that allowed me to spend a tremendous amount of time with my family, which is, it's unusual for, for most people. Like, I have lots of friends who are professionals, other kinds of professionals, and, the doctors and lawyers, and it's like, these people put in crazy hours, and it's, um, it doesn't give you as much freedom, as when you are working for yourself. And to be perfectly honest, on the flip side, there are times when things are slow, and I think, man, I wish I had a daytime job. That would be that would be nice to have a guaranteed income and things like that. But those are moments that pop up for me. But like,
Sometimes.
I'm just so lucky,
Yeah.
been able to do this for such a long time.
I have those moments where I'm looking for the full-time job, but it's very specific. Again, I have to love what I do, so I'm looking for very specific full-time jobs, and a lot of times I don't get them. Maybe I'm not just technically proficient like some of the other people that are booking it, but got to work on that. But I guess with that, with that, we'll segue right into our next point, which would be, what what would you say is your next agenda, your next goal or set of goals, your next plan, set of plans for, say, the next month to 2 months from now?
Yeah. So I've never been a great person with goal setting.
Okay.
Never in my life. And I'm always kind of envious. There are people I know who have these benchmarks and stuff. I've always just kind of go with the flow and what feels right in the moment. I mean, and having said that, like, it's not, everything is not so haphazard. I'm working on a new website, or having that done right now. Um, so that is a major thing. I have a feeling it's going to take a while, but that is a big thing. And certainly I would like to have a lot more people subscribing to my YouTube channel. I just
Always.
want to build a much bigger community of people helping each other. And I know the content there is incredibly helpful, but you've got to find, people have to find you. So, I'm probably going to be in search of someone perhaps to help bring those people in. I mean, just something that I've learned a long time ago is that I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not great at. And so I always like to find people who are great at something and work with them, with things. So one of them is, social media in general, and just getting my information out there, for more people. So that's going to definitely be an ongoing thing. I've got things like, I've got my newsletter that's a quarterly publication, and I've got to get that one done because it's due in April sometime. So I'm working on that. And I'm still creating new online workshops for agencies that are having me do this kind of stuff online. So I've got a lot on my plate right now. But as far as like specific, like real specific goals, don't really have any. I just like to kind of do what, like I said, what feels right, and just kind of have my eyes and ears open. So if something sounds interesting to me, I'll go, oh, let me check that one out. And then I'll do that. And that might take me, down a whole other path. Look, I never thought in a million years that I'd write a book. Actually, I've written 2 books now. The first one was How to Become a Successful Commercial Model. And this one's How to Become a Successful Actor and Model. Never would have guessed in a million years that I'd be an author. Never would have guessed I'd be one of the featured writers for Backstage. But they have me writing articles every month for them. You just never know what paths you might go on when you just open yourself up and check things out.
Yeah. Well, in your defense, it sounds like you did just tell us about a whole agenda and plans that you have, but with the ability to wing it and jump at any additional opportunity. So
fantastic. Yeah, and be flexible enough to experiment and look into other things. But I guess, I mean, like, I know people who have projections and they have dates and they have, I'm just not, my brain just has never really worked that way. And like I said, I'm a little bit jealous of people who are able to think, in those terms. It's just, it's just not how I do things. And so, but yeah, of course, I mean, there are specific things that I want to get done.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you mentioned a great point, community helping each other. I think right now, people are able to slow down, being trapped in the house. People want to reach out somehow, some way. And I think with social media, with technology, with this online digital technology we have for the past 10, 15 years, now is the time where people are reaching out, trying to find new and obscure, more creative, more abstract things to watch, to read, to check out, to absorb, to connect with. And I think that's where, you and I and a lot of other aspiring this, that, and the others are going to be able to, take a chunk out of, to really sink their teeth in and really, benefit from. And still, it's tricky. We still had to find a way to hashtag it the right way, or do tags the right way, or, you know, promote it in such a way that people would see it. So we still have to do that. Those tools are still there, and that structure is still there, that we still have to promote it one way or another. People are just not going to find it. I think people are going to find it easier. People are going to find it not easier, but people are going to find it quicker now, because they're just knocking stuff out, because they're not going anywhere. They're just doing nothing but online stuff.
Yeah, but and that's why, look, that's why I'm, you know, still trying to find the perfect person to help me with social media, because honestly, that's a full-time gig, you know, and you want somebody who understands the science of the hashtags and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So, because that's just not something that I am an expert at. You know, I know the basics,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'd like to work with somebody who really knows how to do it in the proper way too. You know, not, you know, hey, I can get you to be #1 in Google searches. You know, I want to do it legitimately and naturally. And so, but you're right. You know, you can. It's kind of like with an actor. Look, you can be the greatest actor in the world, but if people don't know who you are, you're going to be sitting in your house for the rest of your life.
Exactly. Which leads me to my next point. Is you could leave the audience, the viewers, with one point, one key advice, maybe even one word to leave them with. It doesn't have to be just one word, but you know, one point, one word, one piece of advice to leave them with. What would that be?
Yeah, well, I guess it's going to be more than one word. Just
Okay.
a couple really quick things. Number one, especially in our industry, you can't take anything personally. Um, you know, you could never get representation, you could never get an audition, you could never get a job, and that's not any statement about who you are as a human being. And it's really easy for us to take it personally, because what people are saying is, I don't want you. You know, it's not like you're selling, you know, computers and you knock on somebody's door and they don't like Macs, they want a PC, and they say, sorry, you know, I'm a PC person, you're selling a Mac. You go, okay, no problem. You go to the, it's the same thing for us. We're selling ourselves. So you have to understand it's nothing personal. These are all business decisions. And that took me years to figure out, because it can be hurtful. You know, it can be really damaging to someone's ego. So that's number one. Number two, remember, you have no competition in this world. And like when I go in an audition, I know I have absolutely no competition. I'm not saying that because I'm boasting in any way. I'm just saying that because everybody brings something unique to the table. Yeah, maybe somebody's better looking, maybe somebody's had more experience, they have a better resume. Of course, all those things are true. But you bring something that nobody else in this world has. So, and I loved what you said about being stereotyped and typecast. Yeah, absolutely. For me as well. As long as you hire me, you can bring me in as the doctor, the lawyer, the politician, the teacher, whatever it is, bring me in. That's all. I love working. And so let your ego fly out the window and figure out what your strength is and use that. Most importantly, if you are just thinking about jumping into the acting or commercial modeling industry, do it. Because if you don't, and this is why I was going to be a physical therapist, but I was doing acting and commercial modeling part-time while I was taking all my prerequisites to apply to physical therapy school. And what I found was I was loving doing this work. Really, I was passionate. It was so much fun for me. And I knew that if I didn't give it a try, it would haunt me for the rest of my life. Every time I would see a TV commercial, I would think, I wonder if I could have done that. If I see an ad on a billboard, I wonder if I could have done that. Movies, TV shows, I wonder if I could. That I couldn't live with. Just like going to when I decided I wanted to go to New York and test out the waters there. And that was after 4 years of spending time in, you know, the tri-state area here. And I wouldn't say a lot. There were a number of people who were telling me, "Oh, Aaron, don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to get your heart broken. They already have 10 million, you know, actors and models there. you really think they need somebody from Baltimore? You know, it's going to be a horrible, and they kept telling me, don't do it, because they were so concerned. And, you know, what I learned was there are people in this world who do not want to see you succeed
Exactly.
because
Oh yeah.
they don't have the courage that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so they try to prevent you from doing it. I also knew I could go to New York, I could never get representation, I could never get any work, and I could live with that. I could sleep at night. I wouldn't be happy, but I could deal with that. As long as I knew I was prepared, I did everything that I felt that I should do, I could live with that. What I couldn't live with was not trying. So for those of you who are thinking about doing this kind of work, or you've been doing it for a while, but you want to either jump to the next level, you know, don't let this haunt you. Don't let other people talk you out of it. And most importantly, you know, find yourself the right people to surround yourself with, to get the right information. So you're not doing what you know, what I did and what a lot of people who just spun our wheels for years, doing things by trial and error. I didn't have any contacts. You know, like I said, I was going to be a physical therapist. People who were in my anatomy class weren't able to help me with acting and modeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so make sure you find someone or some people who are in the industry, who have a lot of experience, who can help guide you to give you the real information of what you need to learn. Not to say that you will have success, because nobody can guarantee that, but at least you know you're giving yourself your best chance. So
Oh yeah.
if it interests you, go after it.
Yeah, just to you know, tag off you from that, you know, if you don't, you won't.
I like that.
But if you do, then you.
There's a possibility that things could happen.
But if you don't, you won't. And
Yep.
I think it was Henry Ford that said there's two modes of thinking. I can or I can't. Both of them are right. Right. So
Yeah.
if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So it's entirely up to you. So that's awesome, Aaron. I can't thank you enough for joining us. Are there any socials? I know you got a whole slew of them, so I'll give you as long as you need to throw all your socials, your links.
Yeah. So just a couple really quick things. If you want to reach out to me, you can go to howtoactandmodel.com. If you are interested in the mentoring program, my online mentoring, private mentoring programs, you can still go to howtoactandmodel.com. You can find it there, or to howtoactandmodel.com/mentoring program. For YouTube, it's a little bit trickier. It's a long address. So if you just go to YouTube, just put in my name. It's Acting and Modeling Quick Tips. Just as a little bit of a warning, I had an old YouTube channel, but even if you go to that one, you'll see a link to the new one, and that's where you want to go. That's where I have the most updated information. It's really, you want to subscribe, click the notification button. For all the other things, Instagram and Twitter, just go to Aaron R. Marcus. My middle name is Robert, so it's Aaron R. Marcus. Facebook, it's Facebook How to Model. But most importantly, really, if you guys do have any quick questions, you want to run something by me, just go to howtoactandmodel.com, and there's a contact me button, and I'm more than happy to try to answer any questions that you have.
Awesome. Well, all of Aaron's socials will be in the description below. All his links, his YouTube, Instagram, all that. And like he said, for our channel, like, subscribe, share, comment, ring the bell for notifications, thumbs up, thumbs down. However you feel, I'll appreciate it, and all that stuff. So thanks again to Aaron Marcus for joining us.
Hey, I'm sorry, if I could just throw, I just wanted to toss out one other thing. I know I mentioned at the very beginning. So yeah, I have a really helpful book, How to Become a Successful Actor and Model. And you can find that both on my website. You can also go to Amazon. If you get it from, and I can tell you it's a little bit cheaper on Amazon. If you get it from my website, you're going to get 2 free directories that will be really helpful to you. And you'll read about it if you go to the website.
Well, you heard it right here. Check out his books, Amazon, or his website, and all his links are in the description below. And thanks again, Aaron, for joining us. And thanks for watching, everybody out there. Check us out next time.
Thank you. See ya.